Only barbarians dream of republics. The gentleman understands that monarchy is the sole form of power that does not deceive itself. There comes a moment in every man's life when he must decide where he stands. This is not about politics, that tawdry business of rallies and torn posters. It is about grasping what power truly is, how it genuinely functions, and who possesses the right to wield it. The true gentleman, not the fellow with polished shoes bought on installments, knows that monarchy is not nostalgia. It is the only form of government that respects human nature without beguiling it with promises fit for a travelling carpet salesman. The first lie they tell you is that monarchy means dictatorship. As though a king were merely a tyrant with a crown, deciding everything behind closed doors in a chamber lined with mirrors. Yet those who say such things have never opened a book that was not an electoral leaflet. A king reigns, he does not necessarily govern. It is a distinction grasped instantly only by refined minds. To reign is to embody continuity, to stand as the living symbol of what a people has been, is, and shall be. To govern, by contrast, is the grubby daily business, decrees, budgets, tawdry compromises with those who despise you before you have even spoken. The king stands above the fray. He need not beg for consent, kiss infants before cameras, or promise the impossible to pensioners who will later curse his name. The king is already there, and he is there because history has placed him there. No election campaign, no advertising gimmick, no dubious polling. And when he reigns without governing, he allows others to soil their hands, whilst he remains the ultimate arbiter, the one who may say no when all others lose their heads. Look at Europe, the real Europe, not that of Brussels bureaucrats. Britain, Spain, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg. All monarchies. And here is an amusing detail. In Europe there are more monarchies than republics, if one counts those that truly matter. Are these monarchic nations dictatorships? Do their citizens live in fear? No. They are among the most advanced, civilized, and prosperous democracies on the continent. Norway with its enviable welfare state, Sweden with liberties admired across the globe, Britain with its parliamentary tradition that gave birth to modern democracy. All this not in spite of monarchy, but because of it. For you see, monarchy is not incompatible with democracy. On the contrary, it often safeguards it. Consider Britain. There exists there a system of near architectural perfection. There is the monarchy representing continuity and national unity. There is the House of Lords, wherein sit the aristocracy and those of recognized merit, men and women who still possess a name to defend and a reputation not lightly tarnished. And there is the House of Commons, where the people elect their representatives. 3 levels, 3 weights, 3 counterbalances. The king who oversees, the aristocracy who tempers, the people who press forward. None may act alone, none may overwhelm the others. It is balance, that word which in republics exists chiefly in speeches, rarely in reality. Monarchy is the supreme luxury of politics, power that need not justify itself every 5 years. And now we arrive at the entertaining part, the republics. Those which, according to common law, are the true realms of liberty and democracy. Really? Then explain why the most ferocious dictatorships of the 20th century were all republics. The Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Not the Soviet Empire, not the kingdom of Stalin. Republics. Complete with Soviets, people's councils, splendidly democratic on paper. And yet millions dead, gulags, engineered famine, state terror. China? The People's Republic of China. Not the old Chinese empire of the Qing or Ming emperors. No, republic. People's, moreover. And yet utter the wrong word and you vanish, ask for liberty and you are re-educated, think independently and you become a problem to be solved. And Hitler? Ah, Hitler. The name invoked whenever one wishes to terrify with the word dictatorship. His regime was called the Third Reich, certainly, but Reich does not mean monarchy. It signifies empire, yet it was an empire without an emperor. It resembled far more an authoritarian republic than a true monarchy. Hitler was no king. He was a Führer, a leader elevated by the delirium of the masses, who rose to power through votes and promises, through propaganda and demagoguery. Not by dynastic right, not by the blessing of history, but by a frenzied crowd thirsting for blood and revenge. Republics are dangerous precisely because they pretend. They pretend to grant power to the people, yet in truth they grant it to those who know how to manipulate the people. They pretend to be free, yet are enslaved to whoever shouts the loudest, promises the most, lies the best. Where there is monarchy, there is a royal family. Not a politician who appears today and vanishes tomorrow, not a president who lasts 5 years before being replaced by another identical figure bearing a different name. A family. A dynasty. Individuals whose surname outweighs all electoral titles combined. And that family embodies tradition, not the museum variety, embalmed and wheeled out for patron saint festivities. No, living tradition, the kind carried in the blood, in gesture, in one's manner of inhabiting the world. The royal family bears the memory of a people, its deepest values, those that do not fluctuate with opinion polls. When you behold a king, you behold centuries. Victories and defeats, queens who bore heirs whilst plague raged beyond palace walls, betrayals and redemptions, everything that forged that nation into what it is. A king need not tell you what to think. He already embodies it. And then there is style. For where there is monarchy, power is exercised with style. Not with shirt sleeves rolled up to appear one of us. Not with pub slang to feign proximity to the common man. No, with necessary distance, with the dignity that power deserves. The monarch need not pretend to be poor in order to seem honest. He need not claim to understand your struggles because he comes from the people. The monarch is already wealthy, already distant, already above, and precisely for that reason, honest. He has no need to steal, no need to trade favors, no need to accumulate. He already possesses everything. And that is the greatest safeguard against corruption. Hereditary power is the only power that does not need to be purchased. Then there is preparation. A monarch does not become such at 40 or 50, after a career in some party where he learned to betray friends and forge improbable alliances. A monarch is prepared from childhood. From the moment he opens his eyes, the world instructs him in what power is, how it functions, and the unwritten rules that govern it. The young prince learns languages, history, diplomacy, the art of war and of peace. He learns to stand in public without trembling, to speak without saying too much, to decide without appearing hesitant. It is training that lasts a lifetime. No crash courses, no leadership master's degrees from private universities. It is the sternest school in the world, one from which there is no withdrawal, no declaration of I have changed my mind, where failure is not an option because one was born for the role. Now compare this with an ordinary politician. A man who may have sold insurance until 30, joined a party, shaken the correct hands, granted the proper favors, and by 50 finds himself a minister. What does he truly know of a game of power? Of the millennial balances that sustain a kingdom? Nothing. He improvises, errs, adjusts, promises, betrays. He is an amateur draped in a ceremonial sash. Ah, but the aristocracy. That word which causes keyboard democrats to break out in hives. The Ancien regime excluded the people, prevented social mobility, hoarded everything. Indeed? And what occurs today in your cherished republics? Notaries are sons of notaries, dentists sons of dentists, barristers sons of barristers, politicians sons of politicians. The difference is that the aristocracy was at least honest. It stated openly that power was inherited. It did not pretend that all might become dukes by merit alone. Today they spin you the fairy tale of meritocracy whilst smiling as they close doors in your face. Under the Ancien regime at least you knew your place. You knew that to enter certain circles required the right blood, and that spared you illusions. Now they encourage the illusion, study hard, strive, excel, and then discover that those who matter are still the children of those who mattered before. Monarchy is at least transparent in its structure. And in that transparency lies a brutal honesty that republics can scarcely afford. Aristocracy is not privilege. It is responsibility stretched across generations. There is yet another aspect, perhaps the most significant. In moments of crisis, of upheaval, when all appears to crumble and no one knows where to look, monarchy is an anchor. Indisputable, steady, solid. The king does not change because governments change. The king is there, was there, and shall be there. Presidents come and go, one every 5 years, or 4, or 7, depending upon the country. And with each president the rules shift, promises alter, faces around the table change. It is perpetual upheaval, a constant beginning again. Monarchy, by contrast, is continuity. When the sea is rough, the king is the rock to which one clings, not because he is superior, but because he is there. And that stability, in dark hours, outweighs 1,000 manifestos. Presidents are chosen by the game of politics, alliances, compromises, necessary falsehoods. Kings are chosen by dynastic law. They need not be popular, persuasive, or even charismatic. They need only be legitimate heirs. And that legitimacy counterbalances political chaos. And finally, money. This is the portion that sends social media moralists into fits. But kings are expensive. They maintain lavish lifestyles whilst the people suffer. Of course, they are costly. But do you know how costly politicians are? How much public money vanishes into the pockets of those elected to serve the people? At least the king is already wealthy. He need not steal because he possesses everything. He need not sell favors because he has no need to accumulate. A wealthy king has no need to enrich himself by theft. A king born in a golden palace does not dream of purchasing a second one. A politician risen from nothing, however, dreams precisely of that, to enrich himself, finally to grasp the power once seen only from afar. And so he steals, corrupts, sells himself, because it is his opportunity, perhaps the only one of his life. Monarchy, with its inherited wealth, is paradoxically the form of government least prone to corruption. For he who already has everything has no motive to steal. He who must attain everything, that man is dangerous. He would sell his own mother to cling to office for 5 more years. The gentleman knows this. He knows monarchy is not perfect, but it is honest. It does not promise impossible equality, it does not lie about the nature of power, it does not pretend that all are equal when plainly we are not. Monarchy says, power exists, it must be exercised, and it is better exercised by one prepared for it across generations than by some random figure plucked from the electoral circus. Only barbarians dream of republics. The gentleman knows that monarchy is the only political system that still retains a measure of dignity.